Hello. This is my update, my post-oncology appointment update. This video has taken me about 6 times to restart, and I'm not exactly sure why. Well, actually, I do have a pretty good idea. I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about how the oncology appointment went. And it was mostly great news. I'm cleared to have my colostomy reversed, and there's no cancer in my belly at all, which is huge. The only kind of bad news that I got was that I still have cancer in my lungs, and it's growing, but not very fast. So back in November, the lesions were like 8 millimeters, and then now they're 11 or 12. So relatively speaking, that's really, really great news. My appointment was a week ago, and I'm trying to figure out why it took me so long to do an update. And if you're going through cancer, if you're going through health issues, especially ones that are scary, it isn't just about an update. Like, you have to process that shit. Even though it was good news, for the most part, like, I had to process that it wasn't. I had an expectation for what I thought was going to be the outcome for this appointment, and I was so close to that. I mean, it could have been 1,000 times worse, and it wasn't, and I'm very thankful for that. Maybe I've posted about this or not, but I'm planning to spend more time in Washington, and just that in itself felt really healing. I don't want to be in California anymore, and has nothing to do with political or economic issues whatsoever. I just need to be home with my family and my friends and people that I really, really care about and who I know care about me. And so I've kind of made the decision to, I've sold my business. I've put in notice where I live, and I'm selling everything that I own. If it doesn't fit in my car, it doesn't go with me. I'll ship some stuff up, but all of this stuff that used to be me is no longer me anymore. And when I think about it in that sense, then yes, this last week has been tough. I've had to take time off of work. I'm dealing with anxiety and nausea and extreme fatigue. There are days when I only get out of bed to take my dog for a walk. So he's hanging in there with me, fortunately. So I have a couple of different treatment options. One is to obviously go back to chemo, which is not going to happen. The other thing is become involved in an immunotherapy trial, which I'm 100% behind, stand behind. But the only problem is it's indefinite, and it would require me to be in California for, basically I'd have to live in LA for a month and then come back every 2 weeks indefinitely. So that's not an option. Not saying that's not going to be an option in Washington when I transition my care next year, I expect. And of course, the third option is to do nothing and basically do what I've been doing, as far as diet and supplements and, the meditation and sort of the changes in emotional health and nervous system regulation that I've been doing. And just get a CT scan every 3 months and see how it goes and live with it. Which, if it can live with me, then I can live with it. It's not causing me any discomfort. I have no lung symptoms whatsoever. I don't have any shortness of breath or anything that you'd consider, related to having lung cancer, which is so weird because I've never smoked. Not saying that's the only reason that someone gets lung cancer. This was a little bit tough for me because this was maybe 20, 25 years ago, I watched someone that I really looked up to pass away from lung cancer from being, a rugby player and a surgeon and a great dad and really, really strong, positive person. I watched him pass away within a handful of months from lung cancer. And so in the back of my head, it's always been this thing of colon cancer feels less threatening than liver cancer, or lung cancer or brain cancer. And even though that I know, obviously now that I've had cancer, I've connected with more people who have had all of it. And the survivorship is really quite high in, really intense cases of brain cancer, of breast cancer, or, things that used to not be survivable are very survivable now. And the treatment sucks. It can. It changes you if you'll let it. So I'm not even sure if I'm going to post this because it still feels a little uncomfortable to me to talk about this. But your care isn't just about updates and your last lab results, and it's not black and white like that. And I'm a human being, apparently. And there's a part of me that's a little disappointed that I couldn't be the exception. Maybe I am the exception. I just don't know it yet. But it was just a weird reminder that that this is still a thing and that I still have work to do. And now I'm completely upending my entire life. And I'm extremely grateful for it. But I was telling someone, I have this expectation of myself that I'm just a fucking robot, and like I can just get through anything, and that, you know, I can just put the blinders on and I can focus and I can just get shit done, and that hasn't been the case. You know, I've had to cancel a week of work, and I've had to be in places that feel very, very vulnerable, and it feels good to feel again. It also feels terribly uncomfortable. But when I talk about cancer, I talk about it healing me, and these are the uncomfortable parts that I hope that it's healing, and I think that it is. So not a super inspirational post, but hopefully an honest one. And I'm not scared. I'm not scared for my life. It's just sometimes life is really, really dense and emotional and like heavy in this sort of like palpable way, and it's not comfortable. Yeah, I have not been comfortable for this last week. I haven't been comfortable since I came back from California, or came back to California. The night I left, or the night before I was supposed to leave, I ended up in the ER up in Washington with pain in my stomach, and they're kind of just chalking it up to scar tissue. I know that it's also heavily related to stress and like not wanting to leave my family, which anyone who knows me knows that I've never been that person. But I am now, apparently. When I got back to California, I got altitude sickness really, really bad. I've lived here for 12 years. Other than a slight bit of fatigue, I've never really experienced it. So I've had that. And then also I had a really bad ER visit. And it just scared me. And it made me, there's just something about being home. There's something about being home, and there's something about not being isolated, self-isolated, or, geographically. And I feel really alone here. It's tough. It's kind of tough. I have good friends here. I have great clients. But I'm walking away from my business, and I'm walking away from those clients, and I'm walking away from, I don't know, maybe it's this like weird, when I moved here 12 years ago, like I had a fantasy of sort of how my life would be, and grieving that as well. I had an estate sale last weekend, and half my stuff is gone. Like, there's nothing about me here anymore. I'm sleeping on the floor. Well, I'm sleeping on a mat on the floor. So don't feel sorry for me, but so much of my stuff is either going to still be sold, donated, or just go to the dump. And when I do go up to Washington, I'm taking only what I can fit in my car and what I can ship in the meanwhile. So I'm starting over again, which is liberating. It's liberating And I think that there's also this grief process that's part of it. It's like shedding an old skin. It's a good thing, but fuck, it's uncomfortable. It's way fucking uncomfortable. But anyways, I'm here. The cancer is hanging out. It's not causing any problems, and it's not going wildfire, as I say. If it does ever go wildfire, I'll go on to immunotherapy. I would actually go back to chemo if that were the case, because I do know that it does work, even though I don't. I don't like it. But otherwise, I am healthy, and I'm here, and I will get through this time. And I think that's all I have to say. So, I feel like I should say something more profound, but that's kind of all I have. So, I hope all is well.